Okay, all right. So let's start go. Let's get started today. I got slowly. I'm gonna just wait a couple minutes while everybody jumps on. And we have a special guest coming, and we're going to be talking to her today about all things marketing. So I think you guys will really enjoy this. And um, let's see who else. Okay, so yeah, everybody's starting to slowly get on. So let's just wait a second. I have a special guest speaker coming. Let's see, is she here? Hang on. There she is. Okay, cool. All right, let me promote you to panelist. And then, okay, good. Now you can put your video on when you're ready, okay, Deanna? And we can just do like a little interview and kind of hang out a little bit and just talk about marketing, all things marketing today is what we're going to talk about. So, Deanna is a marketing specialist. So she is very good at, I'll ask to unmute. Maybe I have to ask to unmute. Okay. And I'm just going to make you a co-host just in case. All right. So, okay, cool. There you are.
I was like trying really hard. How are you?
Were you like sending me some energy through the Zoom that was like, turn on I can't talk to you? Is that what you were doing?
Oh my God. Zoom like cuts everything off, so you have to like enable it all. But I made it. I'm
Still
here.
like trying to figure out Zoom, and I've been doing Zoom now for like 3 months straight, and I still have to.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So how are
We're
you?
here. And
Huh?
I said, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good, good. Happy Friday.
Yes, yes. So I've been doing like a 5-day challenge this week. So Monday through Friday, everybody's been in, and I've been just like teaching them every single week.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I think today we're going to do is just talk about marketing, right? So I did a little bit of marketing on the front end, but
Mm-hmm.
I figure like we'll just talk all things marketing, and people will slowly get on. It's like a smaller group. I think there's like 20 people or something. So whoever shows up.
Okay.
But anyway, so and then we'll just talk, and just like whoever wants to listen can just listen to us.
Okay.
Okay. All
That
right.
sounds good.
So go ahead and introduce yourself to everybody.
Yeah.
So and also real fast, sorry, before you say something, there's people from all over the country, not just Atlanta. Just FYI.
Okay.
There's a lot of Atlanta, but there's also other people as well too. Okay.
Okay, cool. So, hi everyone. My name is Deanna Britt. I am the owner of Law Clerk on Demand. I'm a proud vendor and teacher with South Atlanta RIA. I call myself the marketing police because I like to hold you guys accountable and make sure your marketing's going out. And I'm just really honored to be here. Basically, what Law Clerk on Demand does is we go to the courthouses and pull lists every single month for you guys to send marketing to. So like your direct mail letters, your cold calling stuff, you can use the information that we get from the courthouse and put into a list for your marketing. So that's pretty much what we do. And then I personally teach investors about probates and evictions and all these courthouse lists and how to market to them so we can start finding deals.
So tell everybody, like, why would it be important to go to the courthouse to buy a list instead of just going out and buying a list? What's the difference?
Yeah. Huge difference, right? Because majority of what we hear about is these lists that, if you go to a real estate webinar, you're going to hear about like more general lists like absentee or vacant and that kind of stuff. But the cool thing about the courthouse is you're going to get really fresh information. You're also going to get, you're going to get folks that have just filed a court case in the last like 30 days, which is great. You're going to get their most recent address, their most recent phone number because they just went to court. And so you don't have to do any extra work. Also, we know they have a really bad headache because no one likes the courthouse, but like the attorneys and the folks that work there. So the fact that they had to go to the courthouse about something like a probate or an eviction, they are definitely going to be irritated. So we can take it, get involved with that information and start offering solutions, right?
What kind of lists can you pull at the courthouse?
Yes, so so probate is number one. You definitely, no matter what state you're in, you want to figure out if probate information is accessible. I know a lot of folks don't have time, so you can leverage someone. That's something that I actually teach from Law Clerk on Demand now too. You can leverage or train someone to go to the courthouse for you and do the legal research. And so once you do that from probate, that's a really, really good way to find some deals. So probate is number one. Number two, if you can go through the evictions that have recently been filed, that's fantastic. And I'm just going to be honest with you, that is a very tedious list, probably our most tedious that we do. So
why is it so tedious?
Oh my gosh, Stacey, because there's a gazillion cases every month, and we go through those cases. So let's say, so to paint a better picture, all of the commercial like apartment complexes that we think of, they are throwing out like hundreds of people a month, right? But then we're going through there with our like magnifying glass and we're trying to find the houses that we're doing an eviction. So that takes a lot of time, and we have to wear two hats. We have to think like a law clerk and think like an investor. But once we have gone through hundreds of cases, that will filter down to a list. And so that takes some time, right? But once we get it, that list is golden. So if you can find that in any county, you're going to do well, and you're going to see less saturation, because who wants to do all that, right?
So me. Let's just buy that list.
Yeah, you could just buy it. So, and honestly, that's something that we created. Like, these are lists that probate is, has been talked about for years, but like the eviction list, we really had to like think about this process. That's how we do it. We think about the legal process, and then we're like, okay, so where would the houses be? And we put it in a list.
That's funny. So what other lists do you do? So probate, evictions,
and divorce. Right? Because we've niched down. We've done and we can do like code violations and tax and stuff by special request, but we've niched down to these three. So probate, eviction, and then divorce is the third one. And divorce is just like it sounds. Typically when folks get married, they buy property together. When they divorce, they don't want to live together anymore, right? So you can use that list to find folks that have properties that they need to get rid of, that they either own together, or even if they owned it separately, so a change is happening. So that's a great list for like direct mail.
So why only those three lists, and why not like all the other ones?
Yeah, so the other ones we can do it, but to be honest, like I've had my company for 5 years, and I've literally watched and monitored like real estate investor progress, and we're seeing the two lists that I'm always talking about a testimonial from is probate and evictions. So I'm literally like guiding you towards the win by what we offer, because it's like, we could do a gazillion lists, but I want to do what's working, and I'm seeing consistently, like it's on our website, our Instagram and stuff, folks are closing the probates and the evictions. So that's what we're really honing in on.
Oh, awesome. Okay, cool. All right. So, and then if anybody has any questions for Deanna, just put it into the chat as well. I don't know if they're in there on Zoom, and they're also on Facebook Live. So you may not.
Okay.
But anyway, so let's talk about like let's talk about the market a little bit. Like, what have you seen over the past couple of months and stuff with the market? Have you seen like probates going up or down, or evictions going up or down, or what's happening?
Very interesting question. So pre-foreclosure, that was one that we left off. We still do pre-foreclosures when asked for. The pre-foreclosures definitely dipped, right? We just stopped. Well, I just told everybody to kind of wait until the end of the summer and pick that back up, because it was like nothing on those lists, right? Evictions were pretty consistent. They dipped a little bit, but for the most part, have been able to do our eviction list. And one thing I want to clear up, even though things are resuming, so eviction is a process, right? It's the process from the time, well, really all of these lists, it's the process from the time the paperwork is dropped off at the courthouse to the day in court. Right. And so what we were seeing in the media is that the day in court is being put on hold because we don't want a bunch of people sitting in the courthouse. But folks are still able to drop off their paperwork. And because they're able to do that, we're still able to get that information. So evictions are picking back up right now. but it didn't drop too much. Probates were pretty consistent. You know, we only had like one or two courthouses where they were like, nah, I ain't coming in here. So
Yeah.
for the most part, honestly, and I'm grateful, we were still able to pull those lists. Yeah.
So with eviction, so you're basically saying, and I'm saying this is probably what's happening across the board, is that people are still filing evictions. It's just that whether or not they go to court is the question. Because I was thinking people would just not even file evictions.
Yeah, and to be honest, there are people who may have chose not to file. There's a few that may say, you know what, I'm just gonna wait this thing out before I start this eviction process. Maybe they just clicked on the news, misunderstood. Cool. So now we're seeing those people are like running to the courthouse this summer now, right? Because things are opening back up. So I would say probate's always gonna be a hot list, but evictions are going to be red hot in the next like few months for sure, because everybody who gave chances during the pandemic are going. You know, they're going to be there by August. So this is going to be interesting. So I'm expecting that
a lot more evictions coming up.
For sure.
And so what about like, so Brokeny asks, why evictions?
Why should an investor work in an eviction list? Yeah, so let's break that down. So the number one question I got when I first started offering it was like, well, we don't want to talk to the tenants. So we're not talking to the tenants. We're talking to the person who filed the eviction. So that's going to be a traditional landlord. That's going to be a LLC. It could be a property management company, but it's going to be whoever is responsible for collecting that money that has filed. Now, when we think about it, if I have to look for my money and I didn't receive it to the point that I had to go to the courthouse, I am not going to be happy, right? And we all know in real estate, we love tired landlords. We love aggravated landlords. Many of you guys have properties, right? And so just the very thought of your tenant not paying you and potentially not taking care of the property that you have worked to make tenant ready, that is not only a headache, that's a migraine, right? And do we like people who have migraines? Yeah. So it's a really great list for you to figure out how to get and start working, and less people are working it, for sure.
Talk about the difference between like a motivated seller and an unmotivated seller.
Right. So, and I honestly want to defer to you on this because I've heard you kind of break this down a little bit. Probates.
Well, is probate motivated or unmotivated? What do you think?
I think it depends on the probate, right? Because I like to really explain to folks that the list that we do, these are court cases, these are people. So entry, case, the first case on the list and the seventh case on the list are two different people. They're two different situations, right? So if you keep that in mind, you're gonna, as you navigate the list, there's gonna be some folks that are like making appointments and talking to 20 investors on Saturday, and there's gonna be some people that are like, we got this. Call us in a couple of months, So I think there's a mixture on the probate list. So I don't know if I would say it's unmotivated. I would say it's a combination and you have to discover and figure it out.
Well, every once in a while you'll come across something. It's like, yeah, I need to get rid of this thing, but most of the time I think people are it takes a little bit longer for people to let go of their houses and stuff. I mean, even like, for instance, even if they have several different, let's just say that it's a house and there's like, 3 brothers or something like this, right? Mm-hmm. You have to get all of the brothers to agree. And I mean, it's just so much of a process, you know what I'm saying? Like to get it all going and stuff. So that's why it just takes a little longer with the probate, I think.
Yeah.
Personally. Yeah.
And also, one thing folks have to keep in mind too is probate is a legal process, right? So when you get a list, you want to get the list as soon as they file for a strategic reason so that you can get to know them and have time to work with them. But they may not legally be able to do anything with you until that case is closed, right? So that may be another reason why they're moving a little bit slower. And so it may not be that they're not motivated, it just may be that they legally just can't sell to you yet. So you have to stay on top of them.
Yeah, and in your state, you want to figure out how long the probate process takes, because like in some states it might be faster than other states, right? So,
Right.
like, how long does the probate process take in Georgia on average?
So again, it's not just a blanket time period. It's going to depend on the case,
Yeah.
right? So I've seen cases, you know, close in 90 days, and I've seen cases take a year. So it just depends on the facts and the circumstances of the person who has filed. So very different than like, you know, evictions. We can predict that that's going to be like 30, 60 days. Like we can predict that because it's just the same routine situation versus a probate, we really have to look at what's going on.
So, like, let's just say that somebody comes across like a property that needs to be probated. Like, what should
Mm-hmm.
they do?
Yeah, great question. I love this question because folks, you know, may say, I'm driving for dollars. I'm good. I don't need to learn this probate thing. Aha, you actually do. And that is like one of the common questions I get probably once a week is I have a property. I know the owner is dead, but the family member says they'll give it to me for $5, right? And they're like, Deanna, I can do it, right? And it's like, no. And the number one thing to remember is I can't sell what I don't own. So if that person is not on the deed for that property, they don't legally own it, then we need this probate process to give them the right to sell. So you want to figure out if this person has started probate, and if they haven't, you want to let them know, okay, hey, you may need to call a probate attorney, and you can Google like probate attorney in your county, or you can Google like estate planning in your county, and they'll come right up, right? There are some attorneys that will do it with your closing. So that, you know, they may just quickly do that paperwork for you. Or, you know, depending on the seller, if they understand it, they may feel comfortable just going to the courthouse and grabbing the packet and filling it out on their own. There's plenty of people that do it by themselves. But just remember, you as the investor can't give them legal advice, and the clerk isn't going to do that either. So,
And then if it happens to be out of state, what you need to do first is figure out like who handles your probate in your state. Is it the title company that does that, or the attorney that does that? So that's another thing too, as well. Is like, because every state is completely different on how the process is for probates and for evictions as that, you know, as well. So just make sure that you really truly understand the process. But I think the point here is that if you come across a property and it's like you talk to the son and the parents have died, you can help them and show them how to go through probate, right? Just as long as you know how to do that in your state, right? So I've bought many properties that they're saying, oh, well, I got this, like, this is inherited to me, but I have no idea what to do. And I say, okay, well, basically what I do is just hand it off to my attorney and say, okay, this person wants to close and sell this house to me. We've agreed on this price, but they need to go through probate first. So can you please do the probate process? And it could take 3 or 4 months or whatever. And then whenever it's ready, just let me know and I'll just buy this property from you.
Exactly. So, and you can start with, you know, who you do your closing with. Just ask them, you know, if you're already using someone, let's say you're already doing deals and you just haven't worked probates yet, just that's a simple conversation. And if they don't, then they will have someone that they potentially can refer you to. And then worst case scenario, you just Google it. But I think the main point here is we need more investors to know what to do instead of just walking away or saying, oh, I can't do anything with that deal. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy teaching probate and like making this digestible and like real fast, something you can just, you know, Deanna, tell me in 60 seconds, tell me in this quick tutorial. That's why I have my course and trainings and stuff so that you guys can just watch it, you know the basics, be able to get through your deal. If you get stuck, you call me up, you know, or call an attorney in your area, and then just keep it moving so your deal can keep going.
Yeah, and I think probate is really a good tool for like building up your pipeline, right? Because probate does take time, right? Something that takes time, you know. So essentially, it's not, even if you have a property that you call from a probate list and they say, yeah, like let's close now, like it takes time to close it, you know. So it's always good to have probate as like building up your pipeline. At least I personally like probate in my pipeline as well. Like, it sounds funny. Yeah. I like probate in my pipeline. Yeah. Anyways, but okay, good. And then, okay, so talk about also real fast, like, I know you're really good. You're good at this. So when you get your list, if you get a list, if you go down to the courthouse, and if they want to do it themselves, what do they need from each of these lists? Like, what are the key things that they need?
Yeah. So, and let me preface this by saying, like, if you really are like, hey, Deanna, I'm in another state, I'm over here in Utah, I need to get started. You're not doing lists in Utah. You can do like my course, and I will literally walk you through like everything that you need. So you can just go into the courthouse in Utah and get your list like this weekend, right? So there's that. But as far as the roles, like the stars of a probate case, so the first thing is we need to think about who filed, right? And so when they walk in the courthouse, they're dropping off paperwork. That's their petition, right? And so when they drop off their petition, they may be referred to as a petitioner, and they fill out that information. That petitioner is either going to be an administrator because there's no will, right? They died without a will. So we're going to do an administration, figure out what they owned, who needs to receive what. And the state law is going to determine based on who's living, who's going to get what, right? The ideal situation is that there's a will. So we're going to use an executor to take care of the estate, okay? And that person's name is literally written in there. I want Deanna Britt to be the executor of my estate, right? So then I have the responsibility because that's in writing. But as far as investing is concerned, those people are interchangeable as far as our focus and marketing. We're going to be sending our letters to that person. So they are the star of the show, okay? So if you're going to send direct mail, it goes to the executor, administrator, petitioner. Those, they got that title, that's who we send mail to. That's who we cold call, that's who we text message. You may see what's called an heir, which is just family member of the person who died, right? The person who died is the deceased, decedent. And so they're just in the file. And if you need to contact an heir, that executor or administrator is going to say that. But you don't want to be just sending letters to heirs just because they're not the boss, right? The boss is the person who dropped off the paperwork if they're approved. Okay. And then the third person, am I at 3? Well, I'm probably not at 3, but the attorney, right? And you may see an attorney's name in the file. Now, folks always ask me, Deanna, should I send my marketing to attorneys? My answer is no. Because as someone who's worked in many law offices, it was my job to go get the mail, and your mail is not priority when I go get that mail. And as much as I love investors, I think y'all are amazing and agents, that's not what they're looking for in their mail is a bunch of like postcards and letters and flyers from folks that buy houses. Or the same thing with cold calls, right? So a better use of your marketing dollars is to focus on the star of the show, which is the administrator, the executor who filed the petition. And then if their attorney needs to be involved, trust me, they'll tell you, and then you have that conversation. So those are the key parts of the file that are relevant. And so you're just capturing that information and, developing your list.
So, and then what about for like evictions? What do you need for that?
Yeah, so the eviction file is a little bit different. I mean, it's still paperwork, right? And so we're focused on the property owner in that situation. We want to know, and I say property owner loosely because there could be someone that's just filling it out every now and then. Maybe there's a little bit of confusion there, but we focus on the person that filled out the paperwork, right? We're not so much concerned with the tenant, but we do want to know where the tenant lives. So that's your focus, and that's the property that you may be buying. Those addresses could be the same, but you want to, just evaluate the files, capture that information. There's usually a phone number, just like with probates, there's usually a phone number. And once you have that, you just put your list together.
Can you do because you know how you said you can go and buy like an absentee owner list.
Mm-hmm.
Not have to go down to the courthouse or whatever. Is there a way to buy like eviction lists? Like, I mean, it feels like you have to go down to the courthouse to get that, or I'm just wondering.
Yeah, I mean, that's a court generated list because an eviction is a court process. So there isn't a shortcut around that. That's an actual Sorry, that's an actual legal proceeding. So there's no shortcut. That's from the courthouse. I had someone ask me that too, like, "Hey, can I get around the courthouse when it comes to divorces?" And I was like, "No."
That's what I was wondering. Like, there are certain lists that you have to go down and get them from the courthouse. You can't
Right.
just go buy a list like of absentee owners or something.
Yeah, and I think that's why this is such a niche and is such like a gem once if you can get your hands on it, because the harder the list is, and I'm sure you know that, Stacey, you could say better than me, the better, right? You don't want a list that's like super easy. So you either got to learn it and put in that sweat equity until you're able to hire someone, or you just leverage a service like Law Clerk on Demand and just order it.
Yeah. So, and then like, I think too, because what I tell my students is, like you can go, like if you go and buy like an absentee owner list, like when Deanna goes or somebody goes down to the courthouse and pulls like records, like you're gonna get like a handful of names because it takes like, it's very tedious work and it takes forever, right? And we'll get into like exactly what you can get and from there. But if you want an absentee owner list, you would get like thousands of names because first of all, it's so easy to pull, right? You just pull those from public record is what you do. So, so the difference is like you get these kind of lists that like nobody else has, nobody gets. Versus like if you go, and there's nothing wrong with going to get an absentee owner list. It's just that you're going to have to mail out, 2, 3, 4,000 names in order to get deals done. Whereas the difference is with the evictions, like you can get a list of 50 or 100 names, and like you just hone in on that list and you really work that list, right?
Yeah, it's definitely about the quality of the information over the quantity of the information. So if I give you a list of 50, these are 50 people who just walked out of the courthouse a week ago, 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, and they said, "This is my phone number, this is my address," versus you're using like tax record generated information that could be updated. My tax records may say one thing and I move tomorrow, so this is a totally different type of list. And I think that there's room for you to work both. If you feel like you want to have a really large list for a really large campaign. But if you're a new investor and you're working on a limited marketing budget and you're like, look, I only have a few $100s and I don't think I can do thousands of dollars a month for direct mail or, a big cold calling machine or something, get a smaller list that's manageable. And I have seen this, like I've literally seen folks join the RIA, get a list, talk to us once a month, and they've gotten to their deal and it didn't take 3, 4, 5 million thousand leads. They just focused on court record and they saw success.
Cool, good. And then on the and I think what the good thing too, what I love is that with your type of lists, you just like pull the phone numbers.
Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Yeah. So you get the phone numbers as well too, and then you can either text them or call them. What do you suggest for that?
I suggest both. Yep. Okay. I'm a fan of text messaging because I use text messaging in my business every week as much as possible. I think it's fantastic. Folks are watching this webinar, I'm sure, on their cell phone. So it's great. And folks will instantly text you back versus phone calls. You got to make adjustments, right, to call people back. So texting is red hot. You just got to make sure you're compliant. But if you've got a phone number and an address on your list, then you want to use as many forms of contact as possible. So that's cold calling, direct mail, ringless voicemail, and text messaging. If you're telling me you're doing all of that for 12 months and you still haven't gotten a deal, then okay, then we need to reevaluate something. But most folks aren't doing all of that. And so therefore they're not getting traction.
I think even a couple of months. Well, because even a couple, the thing is that what I've noticed is that people will go out and buy the list and then they'll just like buy one list and they'll get like 50 names on it. And then what they'll do is they'll call them once and they'll maybe text message them once and then they'll send a letter and then they're like done.
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And the
Yeah.
key is truly in the follow-up anyways, you know what I'm saying? So how would you set that? How do you think is a good way to set that up so that they can strategically use a type of list like this instead of just using it once and done? A lot of people just do once and done.
I know, and the cool thing is like, being so closely connected to the RIA and everything, I get to see our customers pretty much once a month. So folks usually come and tell me like what they got going on. And so I see a lot of that, folks getting one list and they just freeze. I think that your follow up complements the type of list that you're working. So the frequency of your follow up. So for example, like a probate, and you can, let me know what you think about this, Stacy, but like a probate, you want to follow up, I think, once a month until that case is closed. Then you can pick up the frequency because you don't want to send a letter every single week to a probate and they just filed and they can't do anything. So now you're just filling up their mailbox or calling them every week. But if you space it out once a month and you're rotating, a couple of lists in 1 month, which is fine, then you space that out monthly until that case is closed. And then you may want to, be a little more aggressive towards your list versus an eviction list. We're working with that 30, 45-day window. So you're going to move a lot faster. So that might be a weekly letter, a weekly postcard, weekly phone call, weekly postcard, because the window is shorter. Okay. And then divorce, I would do the same thing I would do with probate, where I slow it down until I know things are finalized. And then I pick up based on their situation. But no matter what list you're working, you should be working that list until everything on there is sold, which may take you a year, 2 years to really maximize this list, right? So you should not be just calling one time and saying, hey, real estate isn't for me and I give up, or something's wrong with my list. There is nothing wrong with your list, because the minute that you give up, another investor is going to call it and be relentless. And then you're going to see those same deals emailed to you or blasted out, as, contract for sale or whatever. So you got to kind of get out of your head and just be consistent in your marketing to really win.
I heard, like, I've seen a lot of students where they're like, that was my deal. I was working that deal for so long, and somebody else just picked it up, right? Yeah. Do you think, like, with all the, like, with everything's gone on over the past couple of months, with all the COVID and like the courthouses closing or whatever, do you think that the data is behind right now? I'm wondering, like, input of data behind.
So I would say it depends on the courthouse, right? Because a lot of courthouses were open on a very limited basis. So I can speak to court cases because I literally know what this looks like. Like, folks are coming in the courthouse, they're able to go in this one little room, drop your stuff off and get out. So it's there. And then you have, you might normally have 4 clerks working and now there's 2. So things were still getting done. So as far as the actual file date and the dropping off of paperwork, I think you're okay specifically for the court record list. Any other list, I'm not sure, but you should be okay. Now, if that courthouse was completely down, then they might be slammed, once they open their doors.
Yeah, because I know there's a lot of states that are still even closed still, so like they're still like just now opening up. Like Pennsylvania is just now opening up, New York, all this kind of stuff, right? So okay, so just so people that for outside the states can kind of get an idea, you've got to figure out, like, is your courthouses behind? But even if they're behind, you can still go and pull data. It just might not be as fresh as, like, some courthouses are. How long does it take, like, if you're going to go down and do like a probate list or eviction list? Like I said, I'm going to go do, so I used to go down and pull probate, right? And I did that like maybe 3 or 4 times, and I was like, screw that. But I did, like, mail out letters and stuff and kind of keep up with it for a while. And I got a deal from our probate from just going down there. One of the very first houses that I closed, I went down and pulled the probate, mailed the letter to them. And but do they have phone numbers for probate? Because I don't remember getting phone numbers.
It just depends. It depends on the county, honestly. So, like if you're in a larger county, like right in the heart of your city, you may get phone numbers. But sometimes those smaller counties that are further out, we'll just have addresses. And so you'll either have to do mail or you'll have to skip trace. to be able to get a phone number. So it's not guaranteed, but majority of our list at least have some phone numbers. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, so I mean, the process does work if you want to do it on your own. It's just so tedious. Like, who wants to do that, kind of a thing. Unless you like that, like Deanna does. She's the law lawyer, so that's what she does. But so okay, cool. All right, so now let's talk about so once they go pull the list, now like what should they do? And how should they schedule everything out and stuff?
Yes. So now it's time to get to work, right? Because honestly, pulling the list is probably the easier part, right? Because now you've got to go home. So, put your information into something that you can, well, let's say you order a list, right? That's most people. So, okay, we'll fast forward. So you ordered your list, I emailed it to you. And so when you open it up, I need you to get to work, okay? It is time to cold call. Sorry, you guys, my allergies are going crazy because I'm on camera, of course. But you're gonna open your list and you're going to start cold calling. And so you can call every single phone number on that list and offer your services. Or if you don't have phone numbers, you'll start, using your letters, which you and I created a marketing binder together, right? So you can get your marketing binder out, change those templates to reflect what it is that you want to say personally for your company. And then you're going to start sending your letters out, and you just take action. You just literally send those letters out. If it's going to be Saturday morning, you go to your mailbox, drop those letters off in a colored envelope, preferably. And if you're going to cold call, you need to be sitting at your table Saturday morning, 9 to 12, no distractions. And you just literally go down that Excel and call people and tell them you want to buy their house, and figure out.
Call them, and if you don't get a hold of them, text them, and make sure you leave a voicemail as well too, right? So call, voicemail, and text, right? If you get the phone number, if you can get the phone numbers from the list, right? If you can't do that, then you just send out letters. And so she said for probate, it's once a month. Yep. Evictions would be what? Like weekly or what? Or
weekly is good. I mean, okay. Honestly, if you can get a phone number for evictions, I would be cold calling evictions for sure.
Okay. Oh yeah. So just do so. I mean, yeah, definitely. If you can get the phone number, call them up as soon as you get the list. Just start calling everybody. That's what I would do. I mean, honestly, I call people all the time, cold call for storage facilities, and you just have to set that time aside. I mean, it's really all about like you just have to make that time. If you don't make that time, then you're not going to do it. And because it is kind of like, boring, but in the end, like you just got to set that time aside and just call. And if you don't get a hold of them, you leave a voicemail and text message. That's what I do.
Yes. And text messaging is really like, it's a game changer. You know what I mean? Like because you can drop. So this is how the text messaging works if you're not using it. So you can you can sign up for text messaging. We have text messaging companies on our website or whatever text messaging provider you get. You upload your list, right? And then once your list is on there, you can literally drop 50 text messages at one time, 100 text messages at one time. And you're going to have a predetermined message that you put in there, and everybody's going to get that message, okay? Now, you want to make sure your text messaging company is compliant. Right now, the statement is that like texting one by one is more compliant than doing like a big drop. So I've been working with a company recently who just did a presentation for my course. And I know that they are literally like one by one text messaging. But so once that text messaging has dropped on their phone, their responses are going to go to your inbox. Once they're in your inbox, you can continue a conversation with them and text with them, but this isn't all coming to your cell phone because doing it on your cell phone would be insane, right? So you have this inbox where you can literally type with them, and then if you want to set up a call, you can do that. But it's unbelievable how fast everyone's going to reply back to you, and it just speeds everything up. And then if you notice that someone didn't reply, then you can call them or mail them, but you want to document that. And so you get a company that hopefully has a CRM attached to it, so you can keep track of like the last text messages, the response, etc. So there's an art to text messaging, but it is truly, truly effective right now.
Yeah. And that works. I think that definitely works with residential properties. Like text messaging does not work with commercial properties. I have tried. It doesn't work. I'm like, because when I get my list for my commercial properties, I also get phone numbers, and I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna text blast out, and then like nobody calls. It's so
Right. But
annoying.
the people you're reaching out to, from what you have described with like storage facilities, they're not texting.
They're not texting. No, that's what I said. Commercial properties do not work.
A different group. You're talking
But residential, like, everybody's on that, so definitely try text messaging. And then, and what about, do you have any tips for cold calling? Because I know you like.
So I mean, one, you got to just make the call, like just get in there. You got to go through the fire. If you need resources on cold calling, there is so much out there. Number one, you can get on YouTube. There's plenty of investors that have tips, full movements around cold calling. I actually just watched an investor last night teach for 2 hours on Instagram Live. So, they're out here. And so you may think that you're cold calling well, and you're actually not. So, which is why we started doing the marketing class, because we were like, some people think they're marketing and they think they're doing it right. But then you hear from another person and you're like, oh, all I had to do was fix this. So I would say get tapped in with some investors where cold calling is their specialty. So you can put in like cold calling real estate and on YouTube, and a bunch of people will come up.
Okay, cool, awesome, yeah.
Even like cold calling, like in sales and stuff like that. But the reality is, you just got to really get on the phone, do it a time of day where you're going to be high energy, you're going to be able to concentrate. And the key here is your documentation as well, because if you don't write down notes about that phone call, it's like it never happened, right? So
yeah. You definitely want to keep track, because all those people, they just start running together. That's for sure. I'm like, did I talk to this person? Yeah, so definitely take notes. And I just have like, essentially what I do, like with any list that I get, I have like a master spreadsheet, right? And you just say like, if you get like, you can just call it like courthouse lists, right? And then each of your lists that you get from each, if you have like probate or, divorce and evictions or whatever you get from all the courthouses, and then you would just put all those onto that one spreadsheet, and then just make some columns, like notes, like, date you called on this day. And then like you could have a couple, like you keep track of all the dates that you call, and you keep track of all the notes. And then as you keep calling, your sheet gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And that's kind of how I kept track of all my probate calls when I was doing all my probate lists and stuff, is I just had a master spreadsheet, and then I would do the same thing for like my evictions, and have like all my eviction lists on there, and then just add columns. And it was always like the day of the call and the time, and then the notes as well. And you can keep track of it that way. And then you can start color coding it. So you can say like, this one is, all the ones in red are sold, like don't call these ones anymore. Or these ones are like, call me back in 2 months or something like this, so you can color code them as well too, and kind of keep track of it as that way. That's how we do it in our company as well. We have this master sheet that I call on, and then my office manager goes through my notes and she color codes everything for me.
Yeah, I know you are the organization and system queen. If you guys haven't taken that class, you need to. I was like, oh my gosh. So I think you really taught me how to maximize my organization in Google Drive. Like totally different company now, because you taught me, like after I took that class, I was like, what in the world am I doing? So everything is organized based on your training.
Good. Yeah, we didn't get it all into Google Drive. That's something that I teach students. It's like a special thing that I teach my students now. So okay, I was gonna say, oh yeah, let's talk about like sending the letters out. What should the letter say? And like, how do we send those out?
Yes. So once again, if you guys need the template, so we did create a template. We have 7 different letters, right, that you can use. Now, folks will ask me, Deanna, should my letter mention the probate? This is a hot topic. I'm going to tell you my humble opinion, and Stacey, you can chime in. I don't think mentioning the probate is necessary. Okay. I think that you could just send a general letter and let them know what your services are. The fact that they have they're on a court list, or they're, there was a probate, an eviction, or a divorce, that's just a lead that you know about their situation. That does not need to be in the letter, or you can just generally, list, hey, I help people with these different situations. Just keep this in mind, or you don't mention it at all and just say, hey, I'm an investor and this is what I do. So that's my opinion, because I think mentioning the probate, you're triggering that person, you're reminding them of this death in the family. I don't think that your mail piece needs to have that. What do you think?
I agree. Yeah, don't mention it. Don't be like, hey, I'm writing you because your grandma died. Like, let's just not put that in. No.
I've seen some pretty bad letters out there, actually. Don't put case, well, we don't even provide the case number because folks will put that in the letter. You don't have to put the deceased name in the letter. Like, none of that is necessary. Just introduce yourself, and you just
send them a letter. Yeah,
I'm just telling you they filed probate, but you don't need to mention that.
And are you sending them like I want to buy your house cash letter, or are you sending them like a nice letter? What kind of a letter are you sending?
I think you could try both. I think you could see like what folks are responding to. So, and like we mentioned, they may have an attorney that's looking at your mail pieces. So I think a combination of a very professional letter versus like a handwritten, situation, like trying both and just seeing what they respond to, but just make sure that your company is clearly represented, because a probate, you could have that third set of eyes that's looking at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then what I do, this is I do color-coded envelopes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my thing, right? So don't do black for probate, all right? But I do black, red, and green. And then I'll do like, green for probate, and I'll use like a red marker, and then you always handwrite the envelope, right? And that's so, because like, that's so funny, because I just talked to a lady that called me up. And then we had called, left a message, never called us back or anything. So we sent them a letter. And then she called me back, and she said the reason that she called me back is because my letter was handwritten, and all the other letters she's ever gotten are just like, they're gone through the printer kind of a thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So you want to handwrite your envelope. And we do green with red marker, or we do black with silver marker, or we do red with green marker is what we do. And that's like, if you go and have like several lists that are going out, you've got like a probate and evictions and a divorce, like you would want to separate all three of those envelopes out into all different colors. And then when they call, you could always ask them like, what color envelope did you get? So then that way at least because they'll always remember the envelope color. Yeah. They'll always remember the envelope color, right? It's like, oh yeah, I got the black one or whatever. It's such a great idea. They always say, like, oh, I love the black one. And maybe open it up.
Yeah.
So that's what you do.
Is a key point too, like getting the mail open. So if I grab, I open my mailbox and everything in there is white, and I see this green envelope sticking out, that's gonna be the first thing I go for, because I'm gonna think it's some type of party invitation, thinking of you card. So I'm gonna be excited. And so that's the key, versus just like sending out, like someone asked me about like business envelopes. Like, yeah, it might be cheaper and you can get more, but the question is it gonna get open? So
yeah, no, I don't open those. I just throw those away. Even if it's a bill, I'm like, yeah, whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
And yeah, and then what we're doing right now for all of our land stuff that we're doing is we're doing manila, like we're doing those half size, like 5x7 manila envelopes. So those are like kind of the bigger ones, and we do those as well too. And a lot of people are opening that up because they're like, oh, this is a big envelope, they want like a big one. It looks good, what's inside here. And then we just like, we said that we print everything out on a regular piece of paper, and then you just fold it in half and just stick it in. And then we have like Emily just handwrites everything, and then puts like, we have a return envelope sticker that we just put on. So we don't handwrite that point. We do the label, we just handwrite the main address.
Okay. Right. I love
just
that.
Some tips for everybody so you know how to send letters out, because it's honestly, that's the whole process. The whole marketing process for direct mail marketing is a complete strategy in every single thing that you do, right? So it's not like, oh, I'm just going to go buy a list and send some letters out, right? It's just not like that, because you have to stick out from everybody else.
Absolutely.
Okay, good. Okay, what else do we need to talk about for marketing?
So what would you say to an investor who is doing a direct mail campaign right now? It's been a few months. They're not really getting any calls. What would you say to that person.
Well, where are they getting what list do they talk are they doing right now? That's the main thing for me, because if they have a bad list, then that's the key. Because if you start sending, and then also my question would be like, how many letters are you sending out, or how many people are you contacting? Because I talk to people that are they're like, yeah, I bought a list, and I just send out like 25 letters a week or whatever. And it's like, okay, well, you like that's not enough. You got to work those lists.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, what if they have a limited marketing budget, so they can't afford to send out more than the 25 letters? Do you think that they need to switch up from direct mail, or what would you say in that situation?
I would say, first of all, are you doing just letters for 25, and can you skip trace that list? And get the phone number so you can call them? Because if there's only 25 names on that list, it's not going to cost you very much to skip trace that list.
That's true.
It's a couple of dollars, really, So, and I put into the Facebook group the skip tracing company that y'all can use if you want to just skip trace. And just skip trace 25 names is going to cost you a couple of dollars. It's not going to cost you that much. And so you could skip trace that name, and then just start adding, calling them up as well.
Yeah, I would agree. Yeah, I would agree. There's been this boom in cold calling, I would say in the last couple of years, like folks have just like, oh, okay, I'm switching to the phones. I think that you can win using all of the strategies. Honestly, it really just comes to the consistency. But if you're in a limited marketing budget, I think the sooner you can get on the phones or incorporate the phone somewhere in your campaign, you'll be okay. Because the reality is most investors are not at that point where they can spend $1,000, $2,000, $3,000 a month or more, right? But when you send your letters, you are competing with folks that could have up to $20,000 marketing budget. So you have to figure out and really, have a realistic conversation with yourself. What can you do? What can you be consistent with? Because I think some folks even fail to just sit and have the marketing budget conversation. Like, what can I really spend every single month and be consistent with?
Yeah, and this is exactly when I bring students into my mastermind, this is exactly what I ask them. Is like, I mean, you're gonna, how much money can you afford for marketing, right? Because we did talk about this within the week. Is there's 3 different types of marketing. There's free, and then there's like direct mail marketing, and then there's online marketing. And so the question is kind of like, which way do you want to go? What can you do? And so if you're free, I mean, essentially what I say is like, free marketing or like low cost marketing, you're just going to have to work those like triple times better, right? Because I mean, essentially in the market, it's like, the more that you spend, the more marketing budget that you have, the more deals you're going to get, right? So if you have to stick to the marketing, then you're going to have to work that list. If you get a list of like 50 or 100 names or whatever it is, I would not only send them a letter, but I would also skip trace it and call them as well too, and leave voicemail.
Yep. Call, text message, ringless voicemail, whatever you can do. And I think that's why the core lists are so amazing, because you're getting all of that information. And imagine, you're seeing all these different marketing methods, but I think so many people are bringing the cold calling, the texting, the ringless voicemail to bad lists. So if you start getting a better quality list and you bring this aggressive approach of call, text, mail, you're going to at least have more conversations, right? Like, we're not guaranteeing you that you're going to get the deal, because you got to learn strategy and there's so much more to real estate, but at least you'll get to have conversations with sellers because you're able to get in contact with them. Like, there's so many investors who are just getting frustrated because they don't even have sellers to talk to. I mean, and they spent so much money. So yeah. Exactly.
Yes. And Deanna brought up a couple times that she created like a marketing binder, and inside the binder, if y'all are interested, inside the binder is like a whole bunch of samples of lists. We get asked this question all the time, like, what letter should I be sending out? So then there's like these list samples that you have. And then there's also like a cold calling script. What else is in there?
Yeah. So there's 7 different letters, a cold calling script, an action plan, direct mail tracker, like literally everything that you need as a new investor is, as far as direct mail, we put it inside of this binder so you can just open it up, and then you just change the templates, you just change the stuff around to fit your business. And then you just get started. You know what I mean? We just really just sat down and thought about it and was like, okay, let's just put it all in a box for everybody. It's a digital product. So as soon as you order it, you'll get it, you'll get it emailed to you, and then you just get to work.
And if anybody has any questions for Deanna, we only have a couple more minutes left, so make sure that you post your questions in the Facebook group as well too. Okay, and so yeah, that is, I think that binder is like $39 or something, right? I can't remember.
So it's $29.99.
Okay, $29. Okay.
Okay. Yep.
All right, so yeah, if you're interested in that, I'll post the link to that. If you're interested in getting that, at least you have some samples of some letters and stuff that you can use if you're interested in doing the direct mail marketing. Let's see, what else do we have? Oh yeah, you said that you have a course. What's the course? I'd like to understand.
Yeah. So the course, I'm super excited about that. It's called Real Legal Cash, all about real estate, the law, and making cash. And so you can enroll in the course. You'll get lesson trainings that you can watch, 24 hours a day, that go over probates, that go over evictions, that go over divorce, how understanding the legal process, the time frame, the terms, how to pull the list, how to deal with the clerks at the courthouse. I pretty much just sat down and gave all that information to you guys. And then you also get, I think it's up to 7 hours of marketing trainings as well. So our text messaging company has come to visit, our direct mail company, as well as trainings from myself. So I know a lot of folks are like, oh, we keep missing the CE class that you do. So if you're coming through the course, you're gonna still get that information all packed in there, as well as the marketing binder, the legal dictionary. So you get all that, and as well as access to me.
Okay, so can you do me a favor and just make sure that you put like the link into the Zoom so I can copy it, and I'll put it into the Facebook group as well, okay? Yeah. So if y'all are interested in that, Deanna's there for y'all to help you out. She's located where I'm located. Well, actually, I'm in Pennsylvania right now, but she's in Atlanta. And she's helped. I mean, we've been working together now for like, what, 3 years or 4 years now. So she's helped hundreds and hundreds of people in the Atlanta area, get their marketing going, get their list going. But she, but she has the course, which can now go for anybody in the United States if y'all are interested. It's just all about like marketing and lists and things like that.
Yes. So I put all the information in the chat for you. And it's about, because there's so many folks that are in other states that are just like ready to get started right now. So if you go to our website, you'll save on the course, you'll save on the binder, you'll save on any list. Our lists are just for the state of Georgia right now, but you can still use our resources to get lists in your state.
Yeah. And see, and make sure, this is why I said in the very beginning to join your RIA, your local RIA. There's nobody like Deanna, I can tell you, but in your local RIA, there is probably people that are, I don't know if they're pulling lists or not, but there are list brokers and things like that. So that's why it's so important to get with your RIA so that you can really see what they offer for you guys. All right.
For sure. Yeah, and you want to be, and I'm really big on like informed real estate purchases. So, when we've done the CE class, I've told folks like, listen, before you hire a virtual assistant, before you hire someone to replace yourself in your business, you have to really understand like what it takes, right? So if you go through training and you truly understand probate, you'll know before you hire a cold calling company, hey, probate requires follow-up. What are you guys going to do to make sure my list is followed up on in 30 days? There's so many people that don't know to ask that question, or like, hey, do you have scripts to deal with the type of leads that I'm giving you? So we want you guys to be more educated and more comfortable in that. And the same thing with your list. You want to be able to ask your list provider, whatever state you're in, when was the information pulled? Is a phone number included? You want to ask these questions before you spend the money, because this is what we're seeing. Folks are losing money in systems and whatever, list. You can lose a lot of money in list if you don't truly understand what you're purchasing.
Exactly. Like I said, marketing is a strategy. You just don't randomly go out and buy a list and do whatever. I mean, because believe me, I've done that. It ain't good. Don't do what I did. All right, have a real strategy and really have people like Deanna on your team that really kind of truly understand what to do. That's why you fall back on people like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, Deanna.
Thank you for
Oh, and
having
let me make
me.
sure we didn't have any other final questions, anything else. And then, okay, good. Yes, nothing else. So and then if you want any information about Deanna's courses or whatever she does, just go to her website. I think is the best thing. Okay. All right,
Yes,
guys,
and you
it's our last day. You guys made it. All right. So 5 days of me. I don't know how y'all did it, but somehow you did. All right. I appreciate all your time, and I hope that if you guys are interested, you just keep me, keep me in mind if you need a coach or anything like this. All right. That's it. We're done.
Yes, yes. And I was gonna say, if anybody wants to connect with me on social media,
Oh yeah.
I'm Law Clerk on Demand on everything. So it may be popping up on the screen, but I'm Law Clerk on Demand on Instagram and Facebook and YouTube. So you can send me a DM and let me know you saw this webinar.
Awesome. Yeah, Law Clerk on Demand. All right. Thank you guys. I appreciate you guys supporting me and being there. And again, I'll be there for you. Yeah, you can follow me on social media too. I have no idea what my handles are though.
You
Just
are
find me.
Stacy.Rossetti.
Okay, so even Deanna knows that. I'm somewhere. I've delegated all that out. All right. Bye guys. Have a good day. Okay. Take care. Bye.
Bye.